Good evening, YouTube. Welcome back. Hope everybody had a wonderful day and is doing well. So, April's turning out to be a very good month for Iraq, and we'll have to see what other amazing things they bring forward and share with us that actually happens in April. They're doing very well in April. All right. So, as you guys see, they came out saying today they're going to implement its reforms, okay, at the adopted rate. They said in the news, guys, 1,450. CBI shows it as 1,460. I have seen, but even back before they approved the budget, I saw where they came out saying prior to the budget where they actually had it in news shown at 1,450, but yet it really was 1,460. So even though yesterday they showed the new adopted rate was 1,460, that could be a typo in the media, and they might really mean 1,460. We'll have to give it a little time and see if they leave it at 1,460 or change it to 1,450. Either way, it doesn't matter. So, as you guys see, Iraq's going to implement its reforms at the current adopted rate of 1,460. Now, many of you might be wondering, how can they implement reforms at the rate of 1,460? Because at the end of the day, guys, part of the reforms, like the oil and gas law, Article 140, do require the rate change. But yet Iraq's still telling you they're implementing the reforms at the current value of 1,460 at that rate. And yet today their currency is not internationally recognized. So if you guys need help with any of this, we have another platform where we dive in a lot deeper and do a much deeper analysis for you and help you get all these questions answered, okay? Patreon's doing awesome. Everybody loves it over there. They get one-on-one time. They're getting all their questions answered, so they're very blessed over there. And so if you guys would like to be an informed investor, we can help you out. Again, it's Patreon. I'll put a link below the video. All right, let's get into the news. Governor of the Central Bank and the IMF meetings, Iraq is implementing its reforms. Mustafa Galeb, governor of the Central Bank, confirmed today, Thursday, his country has continued to implement its reforms. The Central Bank of Iraq said in a statement today, Thursday, the governor Mustafa Galeb participated as a representative of Iraq in the spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund. Mustafa stressed during his speech at the meeting that Iraq was implementing its reform plans towards fiscal and monetary policy. The governor noted that the corona pandemic was and still is one of the obstacles facing the Iraqi economy, despite the preemptive measures that either the central bank or the government worked on. The governor of the Central Bank of Iraq affirmed the country's keenness on international and regional openness to serve Iraq's economic and financial interest. Right. Central Bank governor, Iraq is implementing its reforms. Governor of the Central Bank, Mustafa Galeb, confirmed on Thursday that Iraq is implementing its reforms. The central bank said in a statement that Mawazin News received a copy of that. His governor participated as a representative of Iraq in the spring meetings of the International Monetary Fund. Iraq is continuing to implement its reform plans towards fiscal and monetary policy, he stressed during his speech today at the meeting. He pointed out the corona pandemic was and still is one of the obstacles facing the Iraqi economy, despite proactive measures that the central bank or the government worked on, stressing that the country's keenness on international and regional openness in a way that serves Iraq's economic and financial interests. President of the Kurdistan Region resuming the strategic dialogue with the participation of Erbil is an important step. Barzani describes the resumption of the Iraqi strategic dialogue with the participation of Erbil as a roadmap for joint action. President of the Kurdistan Region, Barzani, on Thursday, the resumption of the U.S.-Iraqi strategic dialogue with the participation of Kurdistan, an important step that defines good framework for bilateral relations and serves as a roadmap for joint action. This came during his meeting with the chief military advisor at the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, General John Tickert, and his accompanying delegation, according to a statement on the region's presidency received by Shafak News. Barzani expressed his thanks and appreciation for the role of the international coalition in the war against ISIS, stressing the necessity of continuing America and the coalition's missions in Iraq to cut off terrorism. He stressed the need to take account the dangers of terrorism and the return of ISIS, and to coordinate between Erbil, Baghdad, and the coalition, and to fill security vacuums. Barzani described the resumption of the U.S.-Iraqi strategic dialogue with the participation of the Kurdistan region as an important step that establishes a good framework for bilateral relations and serves as a roadmap for joint action, stressing that an appropriate opportunity for Iraq and the Kurdistan region to benefit from this dialogue, especially in the field of the private sector and the provision of public services. For its part, the American delegation congratulated the passing of the Iraqi general budget law in the House of Representatives, appreciating at the same time the importance of a partnership between Peshmerga and the international coalition. Barzani described the passage of the general Iraqi budget law as an important step for Iraq and the Kurdistan region, referring to Kurdistan's region's desire to develop political, economic, military relations between Iraq and the Kurdistan region and America. Barzani thanked the U.S. aid to the Peshmerga forces in the war against ISIS in cooperation with the Ministry of Peshmerga in the reform process, indicating the desire of the Kurdistan region to address all problems with Baghdad on the basis of the Constitution, pointing out that he described the consolidation of the federal system, federal in Iraq, as the key to a solution that is the interest of everyone. The statement added the elections in Iraq, the effects of the new wave of coronavirus as the Kurdistan region and the world, and a number of issues of common interest were other aspects of the meeting between the two sides. U.S. Embassy welcomes the approval of the budget. We look forward to continuing our partnership. We are pleased that Iraq approved the 21 budget, and we can now move forward on the path of implementing economic reforms that we will lead to greater prosperity and security. The United States looks forward to continuing our partnership with Iraq and the Iraqi people. Parliamentary Finance reveals the details of the changes that took place to the budget. Parliamentary Finance Committee confirmed on Thursday that details of the general budget approved by the House of Representatives after marathon discussions. Jamal Cougar said in a press interview the committee worked to reduce the amount of spending from 164 to 129 trillion. Again, 164 to 129 trillion, and reduce the fiscal deficit in the budget law from 71 to 28 trillion dinar. He added the Finance Committee held more than 45 meetings and conducted 55 meetings that hosted ministers, agents, governors, and officials in the state to discuss operational investment expenditures in the budget law. Cougar said, committee has in the previous period amended most of the articles of the budget law, and the draft budget voted on by the House of Representatives has become different from the one sent by the government. A member of the Finance Committee confirmed Parliament voted for the price of a barrel of oil to be $45 instead of $42, and to fix the exchange rate of the Iraqi dinar as it was sent by the government. And on the delay in voting on the budget, Cougar explained the political differences as one of the ones that delayed the vote on the budget law, as well as the electoral auctions of some blocs and their demands for crippling demands. House Representatives voted yesterday evening and Wednesday on the general budget law for 21 after a permanent delay of 3 months inside Parliament. Biden orders the withdrawal of American forces and equipment from the Middle East. This is a great article because it just really shows that kind of the U.S. is done in the Middle East and that Iraq is achieving their independence and stability. An American journalist said that President Joseph Biden had ordered the withdrawal of American forces and equipment from countries of the Middle East. In important news, the Wall Street Journal quoted U.S. officials as saying Biden has ordered to begin with withdrawing some troops and equipment from the Middle East. Wall Street Journal added, these steps come within framework recognized by military presence in the Gulf and Middle East. She indicated 3 Patriot missile batteries were withdrawn, one of them from Prince Sultan Air Base in Saudi Arabia, noting that the Pentagon is looking at the equipment and training that Saudi Arabia needs. And the Wall Street Journal pointed to diverting military parts, including an aircraft carrier, from the Middle East to meet the needs in other regions. Kazemi concludes his visit to Saudi Arabia and returns to Baghdad. Prime Minister Kademi returned to the capital Baghdad after concluding his visit to Saudi Arabia, which lasted 2 days. You guys already know he was working on the bilateral relations between Iraq and Saudi Arabia and forming trade agreements, becoming business partners. And Saudi Arabia is even supporting Iraq in line number 1. They actually gave Iraq $3 billion, but they're also using this to grow certain aspects like tourism and do mutual business agreements with Iraq. So it's more about business and trade relations is what this is all about. All right. Next set of news. Iraq is implementing its reform plans. Central Bank Governor confirmed today, Thursday, Iraq is implementing its reform plans. Central Bank said in a statement received by Tigris, Governor of the Central Bank, Mustafa Ghalib, participated as a representative of Iraq in the spring meetings of the IMF. During a speech at the meeting, Fearsome confirmed that Iraq is continuing to implement its reform plans towards fiscal and monetary policy. Governor noted, according to the statement, corona pandemic was and still is one of the obstacles facing the Iraqi economy, despite the preemptive measures that the central bank or the government worked on, stressing the country's keenness on international and regional openness to serve Iraq's economic and financial interests. So again, they are implementing the reforms at the devalued exchange rate of 1,400, either 50 or 60, whatever that magic number is. Don't know, don't care. So let's see what else we have. First government comment on approving the budget. This is what will happen in the coming days. Financial advisor, Prime Minister Mohammed Saleh, said that there are projects that will be implemented in the coming days. They were that were pending the approval of the 21 budget law. The government expenditures constitute 50% of the operation of manpower, and its effects for the operation of economic activity constitute 85%. The government consultant added that the economic activity depends on government expenditure, stressing that voting on the budget has a positive effect to initiate economic activities. He pointed out there are new projects that will start to work in the coming days and will provide thousands of job opportunities for the unemployed. Saleh pointed out there are operational programs to combat poverty and promote the ration card items, which we're awaiting the vote on the budget law. The House of Representatives voted last night on the articles of the budget law for 21 after rounds of negotiations and conflicts that lasted 3 months. The political blocs, which participated in the voting session, added 2 articles that were not included in the budget or draft budget. The first obliges the Council of Ministers to send the names of those assigned to the positions of the independent bodies' special ranks to Parliament by no later than June 30th to end the management of the proxy positions. As for the second article, he added to the law, it stipulates allocating 30,000 job grades for the return of those whose contracts have been avoided by members of the Popular Mobilization Forces. 5 articles, 20, 38, 42, 43, 47, were dropped in the vote. Parliament voted on Article 11 on the Kurdistan Region share smoothly, and this article was one of the most prominent articles that obstructed the vote on the law. All right. Influential politicians use the currency to smuggle money to ISIS. Economic expert revealed that there is influential people by exploiting the currency auction to smuggle money into the terrorist ISIS. So as you guys know, Iraq's claiming that politicians use currency auction to smuggle money to ISIS, and Iraq has said this multiple times. This is not news. This is not new information for you. You know the auctions is where a lot of corruption lied. Al-Fatah Alliance reveals the most important paragraphs that it achieved in the budget. Al-Fatah Thursday, its position voting on the budget for this year and passing it inside Parliament after reaching a consensus with other blocs. Coalition said in a statement, decided to enter Parliament session to contribute adding to paragraphs that serve the citizen, maintain the correct institutional building of the state, and abolish the paragraphs that harm the people and have negative repercussions and do not serve poor and low-income people. Hence, we would like to clarify the following points. After our repeated request to the government to return the exchange rate of the dollar and it did not respond, we informed it that the law will not pass if the exchange rate of the dollar is not returned to what it was in the past. Large and important articles and paragraphs. Then we voted on the budget law. However, we will remain pressured in all ways and we will not give up on returning the exchange rate to its previous era. The people of the Popular Mobilization Forces were granted fairness by voting on the salaries of 169,000 volunteers, which will raise the volunteer salaries to 1,420,000 Iraq dinar. We raised the salaries of the beneficiaries of the welfare network to a minimum of 250,000 dinars. After the individual beneficiary received 150,000 dinar, and the allocations of the social welfare network were raised to accommodate more numbers of beneficiaries. We got 5% of oil revenues to the oil-producing provinces and the petrodollar. We demanded the payment of farmers' dues, and this was achieved with an increase in the price of a ton of wheat, barley, rice by 50,000 dinar. Provincial development allocations have been increased from 2 to 4 million dinar. Confirmation of contract holders in all ministries who have been in active service for 7 years or more We cancel the articles that sell property assets and reduce sovereign loans by 60%. We have fixed the salaries, 220,000 free lecturers, finalizing the file of proxy positions and limiting them to the House of Representatives. There is no guarantee that the region will adhere to the budget law, guys. We're not even going to touch on this because this is saying that the Kurdistan region is not going to comply with the new budget and fulfill their budget obligations back to Baghdad. And this article has no credibility. We're not even going to touch it. So the exchange rate of the dollar in the local markets are recording a remarkable increase, guys. That's just the market value of the dinar at the current time. And in the kind of at the bottom, it says, and fixing the price of the dollar at 1,450 dinar. You know that's where they locked the new rate in. You guys are the best. Have a great evening and take care.